Hello, my name is Jonathan Taylor from the Move Golf Academy in Munich, Germany. By popular demand, I'm going to demonstrate a show I give at the BMW International Open every year. Maybe this video will help. The idea of the golf swing really is to hit the golf ball as far as possible with this club. But before we can actually learn that, we've got to learn to actually stand to the golf ball in the correct way. A lot of the problems in golf are basically created because the golfer stands incorrectly to the golf ball. They'll line up to the right with one shot, they'll line up to the left with the next shot, they're standing too upright by the following shot, and then they wonder that the golf ball's going right, left and all over the place. One of the things that the golf professionals show us is they stand exactly the same to the golf ball every time. They've got a pre-shot routine which checks their stance, their posture, their alignment. So we're going to run through those things first, and once you actually got those right, you'll actually find you start to actually build a repetitive swing from a good foundation. Let's have a look at the ground here. I've got a couple of lines on the floor. The red line basically depicts the ball to target line, the yellow line my foot line. I want to be standing parallel to the target line and with my feet around about shoulder width apart. Shoulder width means that the foot joint is under the shoulder joint, which means more or less that your heel is standing under your armpit, and that will give you a good idea of a good shoulder width. If you're standing too wide, you're standing like a pyramid. You're never going to get any kind of a weight transfer going on, and we want to make a sporty, dynamic movement here. So you're going to have to move. At the same time, getting too narrow in the stance will mean that you become unstable. Shoulder width then is a good kind of rule of thumb to say, okay, that's where I want to be. You might want to go a little bit wider if you've got the woods, especially the driver in your hand, or a little bit narrow if you're just making a short shot or chip. But for the majority of golf shots, you want to be shoulder width. Once you've actually found the shoulder width, the positioning of your feet is more or less the way that you stand in everyday life. I always tend to stand with my feet a little bit flared out, and I've never really played bad golf, so I think that's okay. I don't necessarily think for a beginner you've really got to be kind of looking at the books like Mr. Hogan said, with your right foot straight and your left foot left. But at the same time, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Try these things out, but your body has probably got used to the way that you stand in everyday life, and changing the direction of the feet can actually lead to problems with tendons and with muscles during the golf swing. When we stand to the golf ball, we're going to make a dynamic movement, I said, so I'm going to need a little bit of flex in the knees. Straight legs will basically stop me making a good balanced movement. A little bit of flex in the legs though, we're not sitting here on the toilet far too much in the knees, because I think they've got to basically be standing like this. When they stand to the golf ball, not too pretty and definitely not very functional. So we're just going to have a little bit of knee flex. The upper body should be tilted around about 30 to 34 degrees forwards. That's a bit like a soldier would stand. We're trying to get a straight back here. We go lightly in the knees, and then I'm basically flexing from the hips till my upper body has reached this kind of 30 to 34 degrees. Now, unless you've got a caddy with a protractor on the golf course, it's going to be difficult to measure that. But you can actually measure it quite simply by just allowing your arms to hang from your shoulders. And you should have around about a hand's width between the thigh and the hand when the hand hangs. If you're too upright, you'll find that the arms will hang on the thighs, and if you get yourself too bent, then you actually get too much distance between your hands and your thighs. So it's a good way of actually checking out. Why is this so important? Well, I think first of all, you'll see this in an awful lot of other sports. This position is something, for instance, that a tennis player might take up if they're waiting for a serve, or a goalkeeper if he's waiting for a penalty shot. This is basically just a simple balanced position for the body where you can make a dynamic movement. If you're stood too upright to the golf ball, you're also likely to get far too much lateral movement going on in the hips. This is a problem for the ladies. They tend to practice this hip swing, but girls, you might turn the boys on with that, but you're not going to do an awful lot for the golf ball. If you want to keep the men happy, then when you actually take your address position, make sure that you stick your bum out slightly. You've got to have a feeling almost as if you're staying a bit like a duck. If you're standing like a duck, then you've got balance. If you don't allow your bum to go backwards, then you're going to get too much weight on your toes. We really want the weight to be positioned in the middle of the feet. So not too much on the heels and not too much on the toes. We you want it basically right in the middle of your feet. Also, if you could, more on kind of the inside of the feet. We don't want to get too much to the outside. So if you've got bow legs, just try and keep the knees together. But it's quite a nice idea also during the golf swing to have the feeling you can have a small football between your knees. We don't want to get the knees also to kind of pigeon toe you. So once we're actually in that position, you can actually see when I take the address position that my right shoulder is also lower than my left shoulder. This comes about quite simply because I have my right hand lower on the golf club than the left hand when I grip it. And this angle is one of the most important angles in golf. If you actually tend to get symmetrical on the ball, to actually bend yourself straight, what you're doing is you're changing one of the main axes in the golf swing. It's like the axis in a wheel. If I tilt it slightly to the right, then I'm going to roll the wheel in a different direction than if I have it straight. And when we hit a golf ball, we want to actually swing the club slightly from the inside back onto the golf ball. By allowing my shoulders to take on this slightly tilted axis, then automatically I'm actually going to do that without thinking about it. The next thing is basically to get a good grip. And when we're gripping a golf club, we're really looking for a couple of things. First of all, it'd be nice if I didn't let the thing go, because that could get a bit dangerous. At the same time, I don't want to twist the club. By twisting the club, I will actually change the angle of the club face and impact. So I'm looking for what we would call a neutral grip. And there's no more neutral position than when your arms are hanging by your side. So I take the club in my left hand to start off with. Obviously, I'm a right-handed golfer. Gentlemen and ladies who are left-handed, obviously, you're going to have to switch this all around. Take the club in the left hand, opposite the seam of your trousers, and then just basically pick it up as if it was a suitcase. If you hold the club out in front of you, you can now check if that's correct. The ball of your hand should be on top of the club, and your thumb should be slightly on the right side of the grip. At the same time, we want to get this part of the club, what we call the leading edge, pointing vertically into the sky. By doing that, when I put it onto the ground, it will be at right angles to the target line, and that's basically where it wants to be pointing at both address and impact. So if I can get the club in my hand like this, I know I've got it pretty securely in the grip. When I put my right hand on the club, then I'm putting my right thumb on top of my left thumb and then closing my fingers around the club. A lot of people will use what we call this baseball grip, where the small finger is next to the forefinger of the hand. Others will use what we call the Waden grip, where the little finger is actually sat over and in between the fingers of the middle and forefinger, and others will use the interlocking grip. I don't really think the golf club minds which way you grip it, as long as it feels comfortable, and as long as you've got these positions where the right thumb is on top of the left thumb, and you've got the ball of the hand on top of the golf club. When you swing a golf club, the centrifugal forces and gravity are going to try and pull the golf club away from you. So that's going to make the butt end go up, and by keeping the ball of the hand on top will help you to control it and stop it slipping out of your hand. If you're getting holes in your gloves, this is usually due to a bad grip. At the same time, as I said, we don't want any twisting to take place. So even with the right hand on the club, the leading edge is still pointing vertically up to the sky. Grip. Last thing to think with the grip, you want to allow the golf club to move around your wrist. That means you can't hold it too tightly. If you do that, you will block the club and you will slow the club down. One of the main things in golf is to get this thing moving as quickly as possible. The quicker the club head is moving, the further you're going to move the ball. So if we put it all together again, I'm standing around about shoulder width, slight flex in my knees, I'm tilted forward, so I've got around about a 30-degree angle in my back to the ground. I've got my club in my hand so that it's secure but neutral, and when I allow my arms now to hang, you can see I've still got the hand width between the hand and the upper thigh, and the golf club length will actually give me the distance that I should be standing away from the ball. If you look again from the forward camera angle, you'll also see that the hands are more or less opposite the inside of my left thigh. The weight is in the middle of my feet, and also in the middle of my feet as far as front to back goes. And that's more or less the address position. The next thing we want to look at is where should we put the ball in the stance. In order to get the same consistent hit on the golf ball, I want to hit the golf ball more or less in the downswing or upswing. That means I'm hitting the ball before the deepest point in the swing, and I can control that with the ball position. The deepest point in the swing is actually more or less opposite the left armpit or left heel. That comes about because of the dynamics of the swing. So the deepest point in the golf swing is not across from the middle of your chest, as a lot of people think. Just think about it, when you watch a good golfer, they'll always take a divot, and this divot comes actually after the golf ball. So the deepest point is obviously where the club is actually in the ground after the golf ball. So really, if you think about it logically, it's obvious that the deepest point in your swing is going to be further left and not in the middle. That means, however, that if I place the ball in the middle of my stance, opposite the middle of my chest, I'm actually going to hit it before I reach the deepest point in the golf swing. And if the ball is in the middle, you're hitting it around about 5 degrees in the downswing. And that's perfect for all of the short clubs. So as a rule of thumb here, I will put the 7-iron, 8-iron, 9-iron, pitching wedge and sand wedge all in the middle of my stand, all in exactly the same position. As the clubs get a little longer and the loft reduces, however, I'll move it progressively further left. The 6-iron will be one ball's width to the left, the 7-iron or the 5-iron will be another ball's width to the left, the 4-iron another ball's width to the left, and by the time I get to the 3-iron is opposite my left armpit. I'll hit all of my fairway woods opposite the left armpit because it's more or less the bottom of the swing arm. It's only the driver which I'll put further left, and that's more or less across from my big toe of my left foot. And there I'm hitting the ball more or less 3 or 4 degrees in the up. That means after it's reached the bottom of the golf swing and it's on its way up. So if you look at the ball position for the different clubs, I've got my driver somewhere over there and I've got my 7-iron in the middle. You can see here the address position will stay the same even if I've got the club over there. So I've got a longer golf club with a driver, a shorter club with a 7-iron. I'm hitting here more in the downswing and I'm hitting here more in the upswing. The golf swing is staying, as I said, more or less the same every time.